Man, I'm excited.
I am too. Here you are, bro.
Dude, we're doing it now.
We're doing it.
It's a whole freaking group now.
And I love when you wear that shirt. I always... Woo woo.
I put this on before I even knew you were coming on today.
That's
Just
awesome.
So you know I'm not too much of a, suck up here. I was already planning to wear this as my
I'm pretty
daily
sure you
outfit.
had that on when I was on, so.
I might have.
I look at your Instagram a lot, and you're wearing that shirt a lot.
These were filmed on the same day as that one, like 9 months ago, They just take that long to
They
come
take that,
out.
yeah. They're just spread throughout.
Takes
Every
me long
15
to-
minutes, there's a crew coming in.
Exactly. All right, guys. We're already rolling, but let's get into it. We have, obviously, Kyle Boosted Boys and Brent Boosted Boys, PFI Speed. I mean, you guys hardly need any introduction. Dude, we just got off Cletus and Cars. What a freaking event that was. They did such a damn good job.
It was a good one.
The best team out there, for sure.
Those
was
fireworks
awesome.
show, that blew me away more than most things because, fireworks are not cheap. And to put on a show like that and be safe and everything, I was
Mind blown.
Another good
Literally.
one was at Ice Cream Cruise, too.
Yeah. Ice Cream Cruise was
Yeah.
it was a fantastic show this year, but Garrett went above and beyond this weekend. The entire show, even with their little streaming issue, they got on track and they really pulled it off. It was awesome.
Well, Garrett and Kyle have to battle it out a little bit. It's kind of like how they are with each other.
To me, it's great synergy. They've got some really good stuff going on.
It's good for the whole car community.
It
whatever
really
they're
is.
doing.
Yeah, we're all taking advantage of it. It's fantastic.
How was Ice Cream Cruise this year?
It was amazing. It was a vibe. The weather was perfect. The show was awesome. I got to judge the burnouts with Sketch, and Wyatt, so that was a good time. That was awesome.
Man, they had you three judging the burnouts?
They did.
That's fun. It's a good group.
Yeah, reminded me of early Cletus and Cars days, when it was like me, you, and Bronte, or
It was kind of like anybody in the crowd half the time.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, have you ever seen a car spin the tires?
Yeah, come on in.
You're the judge now.
We got a job for you.
Also, there was a lot less distance between the cars and the people
Yeah,
like the old days.
yeah.
It was,
the car could hit you.
you were up in the action.
Well, there was like those water barricades that weren't always filled with water.
No,
They were like
we could move
partial.
them all the time.
They were supposed to be filled, but they did not always get filled up. And then we'd have like monster trucks out there that could just easily blow right through it.
Yeah, and we're standing over there. Yeah, let's
It
go.
was full chaos.
It was great.
And the demo drags at the time when you guys built
Jessica the Jet or the
VTEC
Castor
Vicky.
car.
the Integra, that
Oh,
was
the
VTEC
Integra,
Vicky.
yes, where it started.
that was like the real original stuff. Because I was thinking today, I was like, when was the first time we met each other versus the first time we actually spent time and hung out?
Yeah.
And I feel like it was Vicky.
Yeah, it was Vicky.
Oh,
That was when
Yeah.
we all kind of really knew
It
each
was
other.
the YouTube, where the YouTuber deal, Rob.
When we
Rob
originally
Freddy.
met was the
Yep.
Rob Freddy call-out challenge.
That
Yep.
was
When we
earlier.
brought the Route to the half mile and all that stuff with you guys.
Yeah.
That's where, we were just boys from then on. Honestly, it was just those are our people.
That was a funny event because it was almost like Rob brought everybody in and then we just kind of branched off.
Yeah.
We kind of did our own thing.
We thought we were the rejects anyway, and we were kind of just we kind of forced our way in. I was like, "Kyle, we got to do this. We should do this. Let's
Oh, dude, that was the first time we had ever driven to Florida, and I didn't realize how rough that was. Because we didn't have enough time. We're like, we just got to get this in one shot. Loaded it up, drove 30 plus hours. We were dead by the
nonstop.
time we got there, but it was worth it.
What
That
was your
really
towing
was
setup
awesome.
at the time?
U-Haul.
It was a U-Haul.
U-Haul open trailer with the minivan, and we were borrowing a friend's truck that was on low-profile tires, big wheels.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be towing. And we made it, though.
Yeah, because you didn't have a tow vehicle for quite some time.
Yeah.
No, and the van was on stock suspension too. So if you look at some of those old videos, when he's going 150 miles an hour, that thing is waving.
Well, it also had the open diff.
Yeah,
So
it was nuts.
one black line with the gaps between my shifts all the way down. It never got traction. Even at the half mile point, it was just...
That was funny too, because Garrett, I remember, clickbaited the video I lost to a minivan.
Yeah.
I mean, it was true, but it wasn't true because he had 30 miles an hour on it. But
It's because he stalled, and I went, and then
Yeah.
ran me down.
Yeah.
because it was half mile racing, it wasn't drag racing. It wasn't heads up ET. It was
It was
to
fun.
get the most mile an hour.
I really liked that call-out challenge. It was good.
Yeah, and it honestly worked out really well because I think Adam LZ got the trophy to go to Germany, but I think technically Leroy had the most points. But Garrett was like, I'm not arguing because I don't want to send Leroy to Germany. He was like, I need this here.
He's like, I got more stuff to do.
Yeah, and that was smart of him at the time because I was like, no, send it to Germany. It's free. But that would have been probably a horrible hit to the channel for months.
Well, plus I thought they had issues with Adam's car, and like it ended up not even happening. So
he never even used it in Germany. It was supposed to go on the Nürburgring, and it just like got stuck in customs or something.
Yeah, probably a good call on that one.
Yeah, really dodged a bullet. But shout out Rob Ferretti. I've said it before, man. He can put on an event.
He really can. That was a lot of fun. And that was my first time to really learning the YouTube world. So it was cool.
Well, some of the people that were there, Vehicle Virgins had his supercharged Huracan at the time. That dude in blue had the 2J setup still in his like drift car-ish street car. Who else was there? Adam
had the BMW.
Freddie had his C5 with the blower.
Driver Corvette.
I feel like there was somebody else there too. I can't think of who else he had with him, but it was a good group. And you guys are taking the seats out of it to make it lighter for that.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Garrett riding around with the seat on his motorcycle.
Oh, there's the picture of him doing
bike.
a wheelie on the pit bike with the seat from the van.
Yeah, that was great. We were all just like sleeping on the seat as we took him out.
Yeah. Yep. It was our pit.
It's crazy because what mile an hour do you think it was going at that time? Like
it did 154.
154?
Or 153 or 154.
I mean, that was still flying.
Yeah, because I remember when Rob invited us out.
Still front-wheel drive, right?
Yeah, front-wheel drive open diff. And he interviewed us, and he's like, oh, the Boosted Boys out here with their minivan. He's like, it's just kind of for fun. And like, I think he was playing it off like it wasn't that serious.
And then it showed up.
And then it was like half a mile an hour slower than his Vet. And he's like, oh, damn, that van's kind of fast.
Yeah.
His Vet, though, I don't think that thing's really ever ran that well. From everything I've seen, it's always just kind of been like a mess of parts and like, it just never had like that streamline. You guys know how that is. Like, 25 hands get on a car and it could have the best parts in the world and it just never.
You got to work through those bugs. Lots of them.
Yeah, I'm sure you deal with that.
Every day.
Every day at your
Every
shop.
day. That's my life. Yeah.
Somebody come in, like Kyle, saying I got a Honda with a eBay turbo.
Well, that's how it starts. But now look at him. You know, this guy's polished. He's doing it. You know, it's cool to see him and where Garrett are. You know, they're where it started and how the growth has gone.
I know.
I'm like a proud dad. It's cool, man.
For real, because I remember, I mean, back when me and Garrett really knew nothing, we were going up to Rocky Mountain Race Week, and I think it was even before that, it was Leroy on the mountain trying to get it to spool, and you guys riding around in Leroy trying to tune it to actually make it do anything.
Yeah.
And we were completely unqualified for that, and once we got onto that altitude, we were like, oh, wait.
It's another world altogether.
Yeah. Speaking of the mountain, it's a sad subject.
What a deal. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen, you know. Hopefully something in a few years is built, but, you know, there's parts of me that even hopes, like, maybe there's this slim chance that they can get at least again next year and do something. But, you know, there's rumor mill is so wild that it's hard to say what's going to happen. But we're talking about Bandolero Speedway for those that aren't familiar with why we're kind of in our feels for a second, but
potentially the most
get all emotional over here.
Well, yeah, it's a big one because I mean I've raced that track for over 30 years myself. You know.
Yeah.
Longer
Your kids grew up on that track.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really know drag racing until that track. And I was into BMX. I was freestyle. I was doing shows. I was doing that stuff. And my buddy had a Trans Am and went up for high school days. And I went up with him, and I fell in love. That was it.
It's just such a scenic track too.
Yeah.
Like you can't not love it when you get like. It is a different feeling when you get there. Bradenton, great track, but like it doesn't have that feeling of like you're on this mountain overlooking like all of.
It's the Coliseum.
All of Colorado.
Yeah, it's the Coliseum of drag racing for sure.
Yeah. And they lost that parking lot, which is like, doesn't sound crazy, but
It was
losing
huge.
that.
That was the whole kicker. Everyone that asks us why did Bannerman sell? Why is this going on? It's literally a lot across the street sold, and that's where they parked everybody. And without that parking, they can't have the events that pay to have the track. Mm-hmm. It ain't cheap living in Colorado. It ain't cheap running a track in Colorado. It ain't. So we do have a really strong, good racing community, but it takes some power behind it.
Well, and that whole area has boomed a lot. I remember when we first started going there was like, if you wanted to get groceries or food, it was like an hour away, and then everything was right there the next year.
Right there, and the houses get closer and closer and closer, and it's what you guys are going to be dealing with here, you know.
We're
down the line. Yeah.
That's going to be a real thing. The positive side of all of this is like Bandolero is the same way. They got a huge payout.
Yeah.
So I like to see at least, you know, they supported the race community for, 60 years?
65 years.
65
That's
years.
Huge.
And then they got millions of dollars. So I like to see that at least.
Yeah, it's great for the family for sure, and all their hard work and everything they've done. And I hope this new venture they're in, I hope they can keep their change and have some, people invest and really see something new grow and be rad.
Because most people don't realize this. Like, running a racetrack is not this highly profitable endeavor. No. It is a passion project.
Yep.
It is very, very few people get rich off of racetracks. They usually get rich and then get into racetracks. Yeah.
And that's what, Bandolero is kind of one of the stricter tracks, too, but that's part of how it runs so smoothly. And, there's an oil down at Bandolero. It's cleaned up quick, and they're right back to work. It's it's a system. I'd love to carry that throughout all the tracks of the country and make everybody have that system. They'd all start to thrive.
It's tough too because the wrench that it throws into all of Rocky Mountain Race Week. Yeah, that's kind of their staple track. Yeah, I mean there's Pueblo, but Pueblo gets some heat. The area and around Pueblo gets some heat.
Because the track's phenomenal, and they are working with the community trying to fix that all up. They are really working hard, and that's where we're going. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try to put on events there, and I'm going to try to do what I can, and because we want to keep the racing alive in Colorado.
Yeah, that's the last strip over there, right?
That's it.
Just Pueblo.
Yeah, and like I said, hopefully Bandolero, is back open in a year or so, but it could be 2025 till we see something.
Is that all there really is in like the greater Colorado kind of Denver area?
Yeah, there's Pueblo and Julesburg. Mm-hmm. Julesburg's got good air, but we've raced there on race week. It's tough for what we're all trying to do.
Is it just they don't spray quite the same?
The cost. It's out in a rural area, so.
All right, guys, I wanted to interrupt this real quick to say if you enjoy what we're doing here, I only ask one thing. Hit that subscribe button. It means a lot. It helps us grow, and we can keep this thing going. Now, let's get back to the podcast. Thank you guys so much for the continued support.
It's harder to pour that money into the track to do, what we're all trying to do, some giant events and bring a lot of folks. And
yeah, because we got a few 8th mile tracks similar around here that, they're 8th mile tracks. They're little, like, kind of...
mom and pop type deals, yeah.
Yeah, they're not the big national level events. They don't have that marketing. They don't have that power, so...
And the guys that run there can run fast all the time because they've already learned the track and they know how to make it work. And
it is cool, though, because something like that could really take a hold with the no prep stuff that's booming. Yeah. I know, like, Hayden does a lot of that up there.
Yeah, a lot.
I follow him doing that because it's pretty cool to watch. That car works
cool.
So well.
And the guys in Wyoming, there has been like Casper or whatever. They've let them close off a section of road, actual highway to run and do that stuff. So, hopefully Wyoming stays on board and does some of that because the payouts have been big and may get people drummed up and
How do the front wheel drive cars do in that deal?
It's not really,
not really.
It's not our deal, but we're gonna try. We've wanted to take Jamie's car out there and try, because it works so well. Yeah. We've been on tracks where there's nothing. You're just walking. And you're like, I don't know how this is gonna work, but the car gets down. So, with the traction control nowadays and how fast it activates, it could be good.
You can't go any more down on tire pressure from what you're at. So
they're 7.5, and they look flat already. So
yeah, you can't really do much. And what's the nose weight on that car to begin with right now?
So that car weighs 2450 and it's 80% in the front. So you do the math.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's with him in it.
Yeah.
Because he's pretty far forward in that car too.
Yeah, and that's what we did. We shoved everything towards the front just so it can bite. Front wheel drive, it's tricky. That's
why.
And I think that's why we love it so much.
Tires off the ground through the traps.
Yeah, there was a big discussion about front wheel drive cars and driving them the other day. And I've obviously never driven anything front wheel drive besides the couple times I've purposely crashed into Kyle, I think. That's pretty much my extent.
During the demo drag?
I think it was a Saturn. But it was a hot rod, so.
Your PT Bruiser was front wheel drive.
That's true. It blew the trans out of it right away.
I know.
Very front wheel drive of it.
You beat me in a foot race.
That was a good time.
That was pretty good.
But the front wheel drive stuff, I guess you guys could just go all wheel drive for no prep, and then you can just.
Yeah, and the thing with Hondas and front wheel, or the Hondas and all wheel drive and going no prep racing, you end up in big tire because the cars work so good.
Really? So they're just like,
yeah,
you're too good for small
You're
tire.
too good. You're going over there, bro.
Even though, like, if you just do the math of per tire, what are they, like 8 inches wide all around?
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah, I know.
Tire.
I know it's still small tire, but
8.5 max.
But when you're talking a car that can leave that hard and that fast, it's kind of fun that the Honda gets picked on that way because it's like you guys know we're good now.
Yeah, it is
we,
funny.
We
to see that.
We fixed the problem. It's cool.
With using OEM Honda parts.
Yeah, from the 80s.
Yeah,
it's great.
I see them do that to the GTRs too. Like they complain about them the same way. They're like all-wheel drive GTR, even though they can't really leave well.
Yeah, it is kind of tricky. They got they only got a certain amount of time to go, or the cars will they shut down. So
yeah, what is it like on the Hondas? Like, I mean, you drive that all the time. How's your tree getting? How's your kind of heads-up racing getting now with that? Because it seems so weird to me to not let off a button because I'm a simpleton.
Yeah.
I only have two pedals in my car.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky. Like, at least in the MR2, we got, like, the slipper on there to help with it. And, like, when we just went out to World Cup, I've never had to really try to cut a light in that car because I've always been just kind of running our own times. There's no pressure. But I was just on that clutch so hard, heating them up, doing my best to cut a light. I was getting like 0.1 whatevers, but it's tough for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to be consistent on that, like to know what you're going to cut. And especially on that because, like, you don't really bump in. You kind of, like, creep in, so it could almost be, like, a little too shallow, a little too far. You get, like, that's a whole thing to dial in on itself.
Well, what you're doing is you're holding the handbrake super hard, and then you're just gradually coming up on the clutch. So the car is so squatted and loaded already. As soon as you let go of the brake, this thing explodes out of the hole. They really get down. But it is tricky, and I don't run the slipper stuff on mine. And Jamie's, we were running it, and we took it off because his foot seems to be better. And all season long, he was cutting lights like nobody's business. And then we got to World Cup, and World Cup was such a tricky track for the front wheel drives. Everyone was either tire shaking or bogging. So, he had to use the clutch to make it move. But in doing that, it slowed his reaction time down, which kind of put us out. It was an 821 to an 821, but the guys at Sonic they were on that tree. They got it. It was sweet.
Yeah, it was another Honda, right?
Yep.
That's rare to see.
Yeah.
Early on in the race is.
Yeah, it was a great race. So. Yeah. We were stoked.
A lot of people don't realize that prep there, it's really good, but it's really weird because it's a mix of radial and slick tire prep. Yeah. They don't just radial prep like one of our races that we're used to running.
Right, and the front wheel drives were wheel hopping really, really bad or bogging to nothing. So it was either hit or miss. So I just told him, try to make it move, and he did his job.
What kind of 60 foots do you see in that thing?
He's gone on 139, but 1400, in that range,
That's pretty solid, and then it all kind of comes in right at the 330.
Yeah, and by the 330, we're shooting for 3.6s. We've kind of been more 3.7, 3.8s, but the 3.6 is the magic for the 7. So that's what we're chasing.
That's why all those Hondas back half all around the domestics.
Yeah.
The domestic cars are just like motoring on the back end, and then here comes the Honda. Dude, I wanted to see your back end of that slip so badly because I knew there was so much like about to be poured into that thing. I was like, oh man, here it comes.
Yeah.
It was about to be good, but maybe it's a good thing it didn't, considering it blew the valve cover apart. And it was on one though. I would have really loved to see what it was about to do.
Yeah. It was like 156 at the 8th.
Yeah,
156
4.9 and 156. In the car, usually back half's like 43, 44 mile an hour. So.
He's like, bro.
And a little MR2.
Yeah. He's chasing a number or a mile an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's going to start with a 2.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Which is really freaking cool. I mean, that thing on methanol would be super lethal too.
Yeah. And I think it's going to go that way.
That's what we're doing next.
Yeah, it kind of needs it. I mean, I deal with IATs too on my car, and it's just like, IATs are not just a number to joke about. They are real, and they hurt sometimes.
Yeah.
So are the EGTs, and those are
Yeah.
sassy.
I don't look at that. So it doesn't. If you don't look, they can't haunt you at night.
We should just unplug that.
Tell Wyatt to cut it out and look at
Cut it out.
Get rid of all the sensors. I don't need to know. Just let
It was
go.
cool when we had no idea.
Exactly. What do you think broke the valve cover? Just pressure?
Yeah, it just was building excessive crankcase pressure. The number one cylinder was a little hurt. There was just a little scuffing on the cylinder wall, so some boost was getting around it. And we knew it was building crankcase pressure, so we just freaking took the oil cap off, drilled a hole through it, and put a back pressure sensor in it right at World Cup, and it built about 19 pounds exactly, and that's all a stock K-Series valve cover can hold.
Yeah.
18.9, you're good, and then right at 19, it exploded, and then the pressure dropped off. And
Are they rated for? Has anybody tested them? Is this
We just did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that for you all. You're welcome.
19 psi? Email the company.
Yeah. Honda, we're going to need these fixed. They will hold 19
I love
pounds.
the comments. They're like, you're building more boost in the crankcase than most people do in their
Yeah, in the whole
regular
engine,
cars,
yeah.
That is true. I mean, a lot of these VA guys, like 19 pounds is about all they need.
Yeah. Well, that's what I always think is funny when these guys are like, we're running 50 pounds. I'm like, man, we're doing that in first gear.
Yeah, I leave on like 45.
Yeah, it's like we're turning it down to 60. It's on low boost for this motor.
Yeah, this should be fine.
Well, people always go to me. They're like, you just start ramping it in. I'm like, it's in. Like,
It's in.
There's nothing more to ramp.
yeah, we ramped.
Like it takes the hit, and that's all she's got. I'm just holding on after that.
Yeah.
But again, I'm a simpleton. I just hit second gear and keep driving.
I gotta tell you though, that car has seriously impressed me from the moment you started racing it. It has been just a phenomenal project. That is great work.
It's a good car.
Let's give Cooper a.
I'll take that.
It's been awesome, man.
There's some love for the 2J this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
It deserves it.
I do think World Cup needs a class for you, so let's just put that out there. Because I think there's a lot of cars like that. I know there's Mustangs with Ks that run real good, and there's, just because the chassis are awesome, and the motors are good.
It is unfair that 240s can run 2Js.
Yeah.
But Camaros can't. Nissan can run a Toyota, but Chevy can't.
Yeah, and I know there's Honda motors that have gone in GM cars before, factory,
Yeah, there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, so-
and a lot of people, say this to me. They're like, "Oh, well, John Odom runs. Why can't you run that?" Well, once you get to that class where your car started as a bunch of tubes that they dropped off at your shop,
at that point
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just a body. So.
Yeah, so
But
that's why
I do wish you'd get a class and come out and play with us because we're all enjoying one of the greatest races in the world, and it'd be cool to have the more flavor out there.
Yeah, what's your next year's looking like then? What's on your radar for I'm not missing this event? TX2K? I know it's kind of been always hit or miss for you.
Yeah,
Both of you guys.
Yeah, I'm usually still buried in the shop in March because everybody come winter it's like fix your car and get it ready. So, but with Bandolero not knowing, I'm not sure what that's going to be like. So, I'm going to be in uncharted territory a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I'll be, feeling it out.
See what else.
Either
is
way,
out there.
we're going to try to leave cars out here and do racing out here until there isn't, and then.
Well, now Sick Week's coming up, and then Bradenton in February does Street Car Takeover, and I think they even do front wheel drive.
Yeah, and there's a sport compact race in February, and usually in Orlando that we like to hit.
Yep.
Those are always fun. The OSW stuff is it's a blast. It's just what a vibe. I wish more cars need to go out there and hang out because That's a really cool deal.
Maybe Victor will add something like that. 'Cause
Yeah.
he does have the map car.
Yeah.
I think it was the map car, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Goldie.
Yeah, Goldie's that's an amazing car too, and what a story.
Yeah, he always hypes up. Once he got that car, he kept telling me how much better front wheel drive is than rear wheel drive. He really just became a big front wheel drive guy all of a sudden.
I love the challenge of it. That's what front wheel drive's always been to me. Is just like it ain't figured out.
I think it's just they're just fun and exciting to drive.
Yeah.
They're like pro mods, but
Yeah.
they're like these little tiny pro mod 4-cylinders.
Yeah. 1,500 horsepower, a little 4-cylinder.
What about you? TX2K this year?
TX2K could be possible.
You gonna make it?
I can't confirm, but we'll definitely hit all the big events. Obviously, Bradenton now that we're out here, and definitely gonna try to do World Cup again next year. A little more prepared, possibly with another car.
You got the 2J car. We all know about that
Yeah,
one.
that one we're doing for the drag and drive. So we'll probably we're gonna
That'll be
try to
exciting.
have that one ready for Sick Week if we can get it done in time with us. It's coming up, and it's still just
That's a lot of
sitting
car.
there. It's a lot of car, but yeah, I'd love to hit as many of the big events as we can. And I don't think we've done a TX2K yet, and I would really like to make it out.
It's a fun event, and this year's gonna be the first one in Dallas, so it'll be pretty different because they tore down Houston basically as soon as we left.
Ugh.
We were pulling out, and I think they were like tearing it down.
Yeah, they were
It was-
firing stuff up.
It was quick. That was a sad deal. But in Dallas, it'd be cool to see you guys out there. It's a good deal for like merch sales too, usually, which is kind of aside from the point of racing.
It definitely helps.
But it helps, this stuff costs a lot of money the faster you go.
Yeah.
Some YouTubers.
A simple break in our
sixes.
world, which, like you said, with Garrett on the podcast, our Honda, we'll make a pass and we're swapping the motor the next pass. That is a real deal. So parts attrition is key. So
Yeah, I don't know why we do it, but here we are.
It's really a bad hobby.
what else are we gonna do?
I know. We'd be so bored.
We're so bored. We're already deep.
Or we'd have all accomplished something really, really great by now. Not just like racing.
But I think we have. I mean, look at our group. Our friend group is pretty amazing, and it all came from this. So I think we've accomplished something pretty awesome.
Oh, it feels great to me. I'm happy with it.
I'm stoked.
Yeah, I can't beat it. I know they were telling me at what did they do it at? Snowbirds they did the front wheel drive racing last year?
That's what we we came down for the World Series of Pro Mod and got invited. Derek got to race that, Derek Martin. And he did great. It's such a tough class, but it was awesome to show those guys what we're doing, and they were impressed. So
They were telling me the track staff was like, we've never found a full motor in the trash cans before. He was like, cylinder head to oil pan in the trash can.
well, you buy it at Amazon, and
I was like, they didn't use anything off of that thing. Like, I would have been trying to get the bolts out of it or
that's
something.
frustration.
Yeah, that's like, push it off to
This
the
thing's been cursed. It doesn't belong in anybody's stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I know you would have been trying to get that.
Yeah, I would have
Couple
fixed
things
it.
out of there.
You already know. I'd have JB'd the piston or something. It'd have been running again.
Remember when you guys tried to do that on Vicky?
Oh, I have the piston in my bathroom. I see it every day.
That was, I hate to say it now, but potentially one of the biggest, wastes of an event almost, because it was like 8 hours of you guys wrenching on this thing, and you weren't done until the last pass of the night.
But it ran.
It was great to watch.
It ran, and I passed you in it.
You did pass me in
And
it.
it shot some cool O-rings.
Did you see the crowd, though, when I was putting that thing together?
They loved it.
They loved it.
It roared to life.
It roared to life. I don't remember if you remember how I had to do the timing belt.
What were you doing?
So that was the whole problem with Vicky then. We went across Skybridge.
I was doing a
He
rip on
wanted to do a rolling burnout across the top. Probably
Yeah,
not
we
the
had
best
camera
idea.
ready. I was like, we're going to do a flyby.
Going uphill?
Yeah.
And he was going to do a rolling burnout over the top, And, the timing tensioner bolt broke. So the
Which-
timing belt came off, smashed every valve in the head, just killed it. So we had it, after dealing with the police and everybody else out there, no plates, no paperwork, no nothing.
On the side of a bridge that says, do not pull over here.
Broken on Skyway is tough. Like,
It's tough.
you're either
We let it coast luckily we made it over the top and we coasted.
Yeah, they were
pretty
not
far
happy
down.
with us.
You're
Not-
either a jumper on Skyway or you're a car that's like on fire that I've ever seen. That's it.
We were the car on fire that day.
That's it.
Might have been the
seen-
jumper too.
There's like there's like burn marks on Skyway where like a car just like
melted.
burned to nothing because once the traffic backs up too, they can't even get a fire truck up it.
Yeah, and it's probably electric, so those things happen.
Yeah, exactly. They should just push him in the water. Let him fizzle out.
The ocean's
In time.
right there.
Yeah, it's fine. Salt water, so it's maybe a little conductive, but it's fine. So yeah, and then also side note, you brought all the parts in your carry-on and your checked bags.
We brought them all on the
I
plane.
think that was one of the. I wish that got more attention because I thought that was pretty cool. I was like,
It
this
was
idea's
awesome.
gonna crush it. Like,
Give it
who's
the
done this
attention now.
before? Dude. That was one of the more cool things I think that we did because people don't realize how much thought went into doing all that and like how we played the whole. Like, we had to make sure each suitcase weighed exactly like 49.9 pounds because we had about exactly 200 pounds worth of parts to put on this thing. And between everyone going, we all could check one bag, and we have 4 bags to split 200 pounds. And anything over 50 pounds was like a $80 add-on.
Yeah.
So I got Brent's UPS scale, and we're just in there. You know, we have the head in one, the turbo kit in the other, and we're putting bolts where they need to be. And every one they put on the scale was like on the money. One of them was 50.0.
Yeah, and for people that don't realize, like it was the parts list was not just like
No, it was rods, pistons. It was
everything
turbo
except
manifold, turbo. It was a full turbo kit.
It was everything in the engine bay except the block itself.
Yeah.
Everything. A
Yeah.
full head, turbo kit, all
and
of
big
it.
shout out to Ricky and Emilio for finding that car. You
Yeah.
know, they found Vicky,
that sounds exactly like Ricky, dude.
of course.
Always find something good.
Yeah, he knows this world.
He's the
He's
guy.
like, I got the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's been around here for a long time. Both him and Emilio have been in
Yeah.
this area, which was funny that
Yeah.
when Emilio first came back, he was like, "Oh, I already know everyone around here." I was like, "What?"
What? yeah.
Like I didn't,
Yeah.
because I didn't know Emilio at the time. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, I got a cousin over there, and my uncle's out there." And I was like, "What?"
We got
Just
so
everywhere
much
you
done
go.
with those guys. They could just make things happen overnight.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That was a
Yeah.
really long and fun weekend of dealing with that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then,
Yeah, because once Vicky broke off the sky bridge and we got into the track, like I said, we pulled the head off and that piston was destroyed. Another guy brought the piston. We ended up inventing, since we couldn't get the broken bolt out of the timing, where the timing bolt would go, or the tensioner. We invented one out of socket wrenches and like little things we had in our toolbox and like rooted it so
the
crazy.
belt is just rubbing against a socket to hold tension.
Yeah.
So it's just sitting like, we might get one more out of this thing.
And we got one or
And
two
we did,
more. Yeah.
And it trapped like over 100 still.
Yeah, it went over 100.
So you know it's making at least 250, 300 wheel horsepower just like messed up.
Yeah.
well, we were in demo drags, and I was in this beat up Saturn that just went through like 10 laps, and Kyle pulls up, and he just like gone. I'm like, what am I supposed to do
Yeah, 'cause we
here?
couldn't let it stop either. We're like, you just gotta go.
Yeah, and we didn't know anything about demo drags then either, so we were like, we just got to hit them and we got to get to the end.
Well, you
We
hadn't
win.
watched anything. You didn't watch anything
don't
all
know.
day. You were just in an engine bay.
Literally.
You didn't know what was going on. I
was a great
think
show, though.
burnouts at the time.
People loved it, though.
Oh, it was great. It was like the only action that was going on.
Yeah, there was no burnouts. Yeah, it was just demo drags and us building a car in front of everybody.
Yeah, because Cletus and Cars was pretty slow. Like, it was not that big of a thing at the time.
Yeah, it was just
like,
coming.
Kind of just us goofing off.
But that vibe that day and those people that came, that solidified it for us. I mean, we were committed at that point. It was something special. And I think that special feeling carried into every event thereafter.
Yeah.
It was something.
If you're watching and you were there, because I know somebody was probably there, I'd love to see it in the comments.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I watched over your shoulder.
It was wild.
If you signed that car,
That's what
because a
I was
lot of
gonna
people
say,
signed it.
Yeah, it had. So many signatures I can't count.
And you better not lie. We're going to check.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to
it's
the
written
car.
on that car.
Wherever it is.
And we still got Vicky. She's
We
sitting
still
on the
have
side
it.
of this
It'll come out of
shop
retirement one day. It's got to be special.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
Can't see it very good right now. It's under some weeds, but
but it's there.
What's the story at the shop up in Colorado?
Man, I'm just dealing with this whole economy and everything else, but we're working our tails off. Like, it's been a little harder for me to put some YouTube videos up because I've been in the shop, right now it's just Jamie, Shane, and I, there. So we're working our tails off, and I try to make videos on the side.
Yeah, when you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made a pretty good one with 1320 that came out.
Yeah.
Not too long ago. If people haven't listened to that.
Yeah, hopefully as everyone's, jumped in. If you haven't watched the 1320 video, get in there, And,
yeah, that's a solid video. It's a heart wrencher. That one.
Yeah.
It hurts to listen to. But
Yeah. It has affected us. Like I said in that video, it's affected us huge. I mean, I can't take in what I used to take in. We used to dyno, I can't count how many cars a week, Now I can totally count how many cars, it's
Really? And
yeah,
what do you
I mean,
think's
I
the
have
cause
to
of that?
I have to vet everything that comes in, and I have to photograph it. I have to talk to them and figure out what we're doing with the car. It's got to be for competition use. It's got to be this, and we got to go through these steps, or else, because my case ain't over. They're still standing over me, and I got to do it right.
So how, do you have to send this to somebody, or are you just keeping track of it for your
I have
lawyers?
to keep track of it for myself in case they come at me again. Our case is still kind of in the air. So it's, we don't know where we're at. So I just gotta be good for what their standards are, which to me, it sounds so crazy. And, I've just grown up hot rodding and building cars and enjoying things that I own, that I bought, that I enjoy, that I want to do, because it's America.
So you show up at the track and somebody's there and they're like, hey, can you touch this or look at this real quick? You may not have helped them previously or anything.
If it's OBD2, I won't plug in. I'll stand over someone's shoulder and maybe give advice, but I won't plug in.
Man, that must be tough, because you were the guy that helped anybody at the track. My car's stuttering a little bit when I give it 50% throttle.
I'll walk people through things and I'll try things. And if it's standalone, I'm in, because that's still competition use stuff.
But does Honda consider it a standalone? Is that a standalone, or is that OEM?
So the problem is the Honda OBD1. OBD1 is the key that I got in trouble with. It shouldn't even be applied from what we've studied about the Clean Air Act. That shouldn't even be applied for what they're talking about, because it was mainly OBD2 focused. Mm-hmm. And somehow in my case it did. And maybe that's why I'm in enough gray area that they don't know what to do, and that I've been able to not get the full wrath of them on me quite yet. But it's not like it couldn't happen, and that's why I'm so cautious of what we take in and what we do. But I'm doing everything I can, because I my team and I, we're PFI Speed, and we want to freaking make it work. And it's been my dream to become a real street, or it's what I love. It's what I want to do.
I know. You were talking to me one time. You probably don't even remember this conversation, and you were just telling me how, people show up and they may have a Honda kind of thrown together and some cheap parts on it, and a lot of shops would turn them away. Oh, yeah. But you were this is all they got. This is what they're trying to do.
They showed up at my door because they went as far as they could. They don't know where to go from here, and that's why it's in front of me. And so, I just try to run through. Over the years, I've built a big checklist, and I've trained guys over the years on how to do this stuff. I mean, Kyle, he could run through everything that's going on with it. Jamie can handle all of this now on his own, but you run through the checks of how the systems all work, and, most of the time it's a ground, but you can start to run through the list and make sure the cars are really put together at that point, and then we can start making dyno pulls, and it usually only takes a day to get somebody worked out. They'll see it as this huge, this is never going to work thing, and we'll just a few little simple things just make it work. So,
but there's so many calibrators, tuners, however you want to call it, that will turn so many customers away just based off of the turbo they have, or the injectors that are in the car, or something that they don't like.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've always done such a good job at no, I'm gonna help you out, man. We're gonna
work,
get your car working.
We're gonna
with
work
what you
through
got.
it. Yeah, we're gonna work through it, and you know, if like those kind of parts became a problem, then you address them there, or you know what kind of limit they'll actually have, or what finicky stuff you're gonna deal with, and then you help the client learn how to deal with that finicky stuff. You know, the car where you're like, I gotta cycle the key 2 times and then press the brake pedal once, and then the thing's gonna fire right up. You know, you find those quirks, and you're like, all right, man, that's how you're gonna have to do this.
Well, especially because 90s cars, 80s cars,
That's what they are.
They're starting to get some age to them now.
Yeah,
they're
but
not.
but they are the best. I mean, they're put together so good.
I know. I need an all-wheel drive car. I said that 4 years ago, and I didn't make a move on an all-wheel drive Honda, and now I'm really regretting it because now I can't afford one.
Yeah, it is pricey,
It's
but
gone up.
But you're local to S1, and those guys really know what they're doing over there. So great to work with.
Yeah, I'd love to
That's such a good crew of people.
talk to them on here at one point.
Yeah, I'd have Son on here. He's just such a wealth of knowledge and really passionate, like awesome passionate.
That's all I want to hear from is
Yeah.
people that are passionate about their craft. You can tell when somebody starts like going on a tear about what they love, and you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so I got his cheapest driveline in the Freedom Civic, like the cheapest thing, and it'll mid 260 foot on.
Man, I forgot about that Freedom Civic.
I fell in love with that car this year. It is fun.
Oh man, my first experience with working on that thing was I tried to put an axle in it.
Yeah.
And the axle was defective, and I was like, am I just an idiot? But it wouldn't go in because it had like some kind of issue on the spline.
Yeah.
Of course, going into the front hub.
And of course, that'd be how it go for you guys, you know?
Yeah.
Of course.
I was like, I guess I'm not qualified to work on a Honda. I kind of just retired.
Yeah, that was
Where
it.
ended for him. He's like, yep, good thing I didn't get one.
Yeah.
Screw this thing.
Can't even put an axle in this thing, and they break all the time. What am I going to do?
That's like the one thing you got to be good at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see you pulling trans apart in like 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not built for this.
Yeah, it is another deal.
Doing it in the back seat of a totaled car in a junkyard.
Yep. It'd be like that sometimes.
You can.
Well, that's what PFI started as, right?
Yeah.
Parts Finder International.
Part Finders International. Basically, my wife was pregnant with my daughter, who just turned 26 today. Today's her birthday.
That's
crazy.
awesome.
And I was panicking because I wasn't making much money or whatever. And so I started doing this stuff on the side, and it just grew and grew and grew. And here we are. But yeah, I was buying and selling used parts. Mm-hmm. And I kind of already had a specialty in Honda stuff because I started a Honda junkyard with a buddy.
So you had a junkyard at the time.
A friend did.
Or you were working with
Yeah, I was
them?
working with him, and then, just kind of went on my own. Instead of having the junkyard, I knew every junkyard. I dealt with everybody. I knew their inventory. So I would just put a 800 number in every major city's phone book, and people would leave me messages. I'd find their parts. I'd give them the quotes, and I just middleman it. And I'd spend one day just collecting at U-Pullets or different yards or just having stuff drop shipped.
So that's how, that was what I was wondering. Because, now you could go to a junkyard, you find your part, you list it on Marketplace.
Yeah.
Easy enough.
Easy enough.
You had to kind of hope people found you.
Yeah.
And then ask you for the part.
Yep. Yeah, and my phone was blowing up all nonstop.
Just people asking for any part of any kind of car, or mostly Hondas?
Body. No, everything. Everything. I was selling the world. It didn't matter what it was.
So you
Brent had it lying around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd had it lying around. And I had a little trailer house that I bought out of high school, and that's what I started it in. And then I bought a house and did it in the driveway. Mm-hmm. And then that was hilarious because it started to become performance because a buddy of mine was like, hey, can I use your business license to buy some performance parts? I was like, yeah, of course. Next thing you know, we have all this Weapon R and all this stuff,
So
and I had already had
2000?
Oh, no, this is 96 or something.
Okay.
97, yeah, 96.
The year I was born.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's where it started.
Yeah.
Back then. And so I already had a Turbo CRX though I had built at the junkyard when I was working with my buddy. And
Built at the junkyard.
yeah, it was sweet.
Yeah. Turbo CRX in 96 was probably pretty wild.
Yeah, there was a turbo builder out of Texas, Corky Bell Engineering. If you get the book called Turbochargers, It's Barnes & Noble. Corky wrote it or whatever, and it has the turbo kit that was on my car and in there and everything. It's pretty cool.
Was there like a series that people were doing at the time? Like, where were you like kind of figuring out turbo kit? Like, did you get a magazine and it was like, oh, this is a turbo Honda, and you were like, oh.
Yeah, it was the magazines, yep. And you'd look at the back, the back and the small ads. Those were the good stuff, the guys that could barely afford the ad, but they had the good parts.
Okay, yeah. So they were like the little guy that you could probably call up, speak right to the owner.
Yep, exactly, and you can make it happen.
Man, you really found like such a way in there. It's so different now that
it is.
And we're born in a different time, so we don't really understand like.
I know you guys miss such cool stuff, but you have other cool stuff.
Of course.
And things can happen so fast, and the reliability is so good. We didn't have that reliability. Nothing close. You guys think we changed stuff a lot now. Well, when we were making 600 horsepower, it was like that. It was rough.
Well, because people probably couldn't talk. Like, everybody had the same problem, but nobody knew
how to solve it.
Immediately, if my car blows up, 10 other people can find out pretty much instantly.
Yeah.
In the induction performance network, and then they change something quickly, and it all happens kind of fast, but you guys kind of just had to all trial and error.
We pioneered it all. I mean, there was a lot that even I was involved in developing, like unbreakable axles for Hondas. I worked with Mark Williams for like almost a year and a half to get stuff like that out that would make the cars more reliable. And that's always been my goal, is to make the cars more reliable. I still want to see, a race week 8-second front-wheel drive car or all-wheel drive car, Honda, I mean, we're there now, so the tech should work.
I think there's a couple of them coming out for Sick Week that I've been talking to.
I think that'd be pretty special.
It'd be really cool.
Yeah. It's just, it's progressed so far, so seeing guys just push and, if we can inspire that, like, come on, guys, let's go.
Especially Florida would be a really good place to do it.
Yeah.
There's so many shops around that have parts that you can get so quickly. You guys dealt with that last year.
Yeah.
Axles in a few hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. And super rare, because if you're in Colorado, like if I don't got it or a couple other guys, it's not happening.
Yeah, if you call Brent and he's like, no, you're like, well, we're done.
Yeah, because I got a lot laying around, bro.
All of Colorado.
Yeah.
It's like, if you want Honda stuff, it's like you and Jake Allen have
Yeah,
all the Honda stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Jake is definitely stocked up.
He's got like classic Honda.
He's got the good stuff.
So, and then at that point, when did it become like what did they call it, like the bully style car?
The pro front wheel drive.
Pro front wheel drive.
Yeah,
when did that come into the mix?
Probably, I want to say 03, 04, somewhere in that range, because, things were progressing, There was the hot rod style cars and guys wanted to go faster, and Sean Carlson and Steph Papadakis and a couple of these guys came out with some tube chassis cars, and it was like, well, how far can that go,
Yeah.
And I still don't think we know how far that can go, because the cars are, still lagging, even myself, Bully, everyone wonders where it is, and it's been at the body shop trying to get a new one-piece front end. It's not like things like that can just be bought for those things.
They don't just sell it on
they don't just sell it on
Alibaba or
yeah,
something.
Yeah. So that's still like how it used to be kind of stuff,
Yeah.
It's one-off, so once I get a plug, then I can make more for myself, but it's still to that car. There's not like...
I wonder if some of those guys still have interest in it. Like if you talk
they
to
all do.
Papadakis, because he's still,
Steph, I don't know.
He's still such a name in Formula Drift.
Yeah, he's
and
crushed it over there. He's
everything.
He's done great. It's pretty awesome to watch all those guys do good. Ron Bergholtz, who we just saw this weekend, he's a big part of the drift stuff, but he wants to bring his Mazda 6 Pro front wheel drive back out. Tom's still tinkering on his, but he's had his health stuff he's been fighting, but all those guys have interest, and there's a lot of new guys that have interest, and I've saw online a couple of new cars getting built, so there's stuff out there.
But what sparked that? Because people deciding to build a big tire front wheel drive car seems like it'd be a weird thing to just happen.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that front wheel drive hasn't been pushed that far. How far can it go? How does it work? As men, we need purpose. And sometimes that purpose is to make a front wheel drive fast. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other things that we could think of doing, but
Something better we could do with our time.
Probably, but I mean, it's just, physics aren't in your favor, and how the cars are already set up, it's already wild. So it's like, it's just different and fun.
Some of the stuff I
and the
saw
racing's
you
good.
do with the car was wild because I've seen pictures of it throughout the years and how it like flexed in the middle, the Powerglide setup versus like the other setups it's had, the centrifugal blower setup, right? Like,
yeah, we've done some stuff. The first stage of the Bully, which took forever, again, working with Brent over at Mark Williams, we designed it the engine was backwards facing me. The transmission was forward, and then it had a boat V-drive, and then it went back to a 4.9-inch. Super complicated, but I thought it was going to be super simple to work on and cool. And then once I got done, it was real rough to work on, and the one shaft was just, it was a problem. So I got this harebrained idea to try to put the C5 rear end to a Powerglide, and there was this guy out there, Canyon Man, that was making this adapter, and we got involved and made that.
And you probably only were able to even think of this kind of stuff from years of seeing all cars torn apart in a junkyard. Because most people,
that is it.
Because you saw a Corvette rear end when it was probably, because you're talking about C5 in, when they were new, almost.
Yeah.
Not many people probably even realized it was this transaxle deal like that, because the C4 was completely different.
Yep.
To decide to try to bolt one onto a Powerglide, which now they do.
Yeah, who knew the spline was the same out of the Powerglide? You just took the tail shaft off, and it'll go right into the C5 rear end. It's the right spline, everything, so you just need an adapter to connect the two, and that was it.
That's some mad science stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if it's something in the air or something you guys do up in Colorado, but it seems to breed some real creativity.
Yeah.
Because I'm friends with the dude with the dual engine.
Volkswagen. The Volkswagen.
What's his name? Ron, I think it is.
That car's amazing.
Dude, super cool.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, every time I look at the thing, I'm like, you're like, it doesn't even make sense to me, like, how do you go down the rabbit hole of like actually doing it? It's one thing to talk about it, but then
like to actually do it and pull it off.
Yeah, so we're talking about a Volkswagen, a green one that I've raced at TX2K before, and it's got two VR6s, one in the front, one in the back. They both make 1,500 horsepower.
Yep.
They're linked up together with the shifter and everything, and he goes like 770s.
And he can, like, what he does is he unclicks the rear, and he'll do his front wheel drive burnout, and then he does the rear wheel drive burnout, and then he goes to the line and all wheel drive.
Two fuel tech screens sitting there.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And, he's worked on it a lot. Even his suspension designs he came up with, everything is his. Mm-hmm. And he's pushed it for sure.
Maybe it's Bruce. Maybe Bruce is his name. I can't think of it.
Me neither, honestly.
It's a good car,
but
though.
I love to watch it.
I'm sure you guys have all thought of that as well.
Oh,
a second engine in one of your Hondas.
I want to do a twin engine K series sequential, either in another Civic or something. Basically the same thing he did, but just K series sequential.
Yeah, that'd probably be a lot more reliable, unfortunately.
I'd probably keep it a little more tame, though, like two stock ones with 500 horse each. So it's like a combined 1,000. Like, it's still going to be gnarly.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. Yeah. It's YouTube.
Like, dude, I'd be yeah, we need the build progression.
We need the build progression.
You know what?
Besides, it makes it interesting.
If you did a stock one in the back, like not even a turbo, and then like a badass engine in the front to do like sick week. So you just drive it on the street with like
EPA
no power. Yeah, like, this was just 200 horsepower, gets like 50 miles to the gallon, and then I use the badass one on the track.
Then if it blows up, you can still get home.
You still get home.
You can still break the beams.
Yeah. No matter what. That's race week right there.
Man, you guys with Shane's car. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. You guys went through some pain with that car.
Yeah. Yeah, and my kid's, he's diehard. Yeah.
Shane has no quit in him.
No,
nothing. Not even an inch.
I think he still stayed in it a little bit when he even tapped the wall.
He did. He was like, get it fixed. I need to keep going. I'm not done.
Tried to bounce off and keep it going down track.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I was kind of worried about those tubular arms. For those who don't know, we did sick week with my son CRX, and we had these tubular control arms this company made. And I was like, maybe we should put some stock ones on for the week. And he's like, no, we got to see if these work. Well, they worked the entire week until it needed to
Yeah.
really work.
Hey, at least they made it through.
Yeah.
He broke the beams and he did it.
Well,
Yeah.
it broke the first night, and you had to bring it to KSR on
Oh,
the way
yeah.
to Gainesville.
On
It
the
broke
way
one.
to, yep.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Ty welded it
I
up.
forgot about that. That was late too.
Yeah.
'Cause I was like, we were already like pretty beat, and then I get a
Beat.
call. We're like, yeah, we're on the side of the road. I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
already like so.
KSR
tired
was
right
having
now.
KSR was having a party,
Yep.
Yeah.
and we had one of the race weekers just drive us over there, and Ty welded it up, and
Yeah, because it broke all the way up in Gainesville,
yeah,
like not far from the
not
shop.
far.
And it's tough too because like we're all in that together, but like we all also have cars that are falling apart.
Yeah,
So you
and-
almost have to leave the guy because
Yeah, yeah,
if you don't leave now and keep making up ground, you're thinking my car may break once it's 2
Yeah.
a.m. and then we get on the road.
Yeah.
Like I need to start making up ground.
I know. I followed you down the highway without taillights. I mean, or without lights. Period. I'm like, where are his headlights? So
We're definitely all on the same team, but if someone goes down, it's like, go on without me, bro. Like,
yeah, we'll make it. We'll figure it out.
you gotta go.
Yeah, there's really you're all in it together once you get to the track, and then because everybody moves at such different speeds too.
Yeah.
Like you guys cruise down the highway quick.
I think we're slow, but
Well, yeah, because a lot of the Hondas, at least if you're running a dog box, they only got like up to 4 gears.
4
and You
gears.
can only cruise like 50, 60, or else it's just singing.
It doesn't help that you guys have heavy trailers on that thing. Shane's
Yeah.
car seemed like it was towing a lot.
Well,
he had
that-
a motor and everything,
he
right?
had motor, transmission. Like we brought everything. We were gonna be serious, and I'm glad then we did because we ended up needing the oil pump off it. We used the original motor, but we needed some of the parts off the
Yeah,
spare.
that first night at Gainesville or whatever night that was.
Oh, that was rough. That was rough because we were in competition, so it was just us two working on the car.
That oil stain is definitely still there.
It has to be.
100%. It wasn't that like, well, for the EPA listening, that was not an oil stain. It
Yeah,
was
it was-
tears.
Yeah.
It was not oil.
No, it leaked
Environmentally
leaked
friendly
horsepower.
tears.
Yeah. 100%.
But that was that night one? No, that was like right before we were going to Bradenton, right?
That was before.
That was the almost last track.
Yeah.
And then it was all the way to Bradenton.
And then all the way to Bradenton. Yep.
Yeah, because you guys stopped at your house on the way back.
Yep.
Kind of on the way.
We were so grateful to get it back running that night, though. And like the track was trying to close, so the guy that was there was he was mad at me. He was really mad. He's like, "Are you guys about done?" I'm like, "I'm almost there. I'm about to start it." And like, I think we got it done at midnight, and then by the time we were pulling out, it was 12:30. But we tore the engine out of his Honda, just me and my son and I, and we had it scattered all over because I was like, we probably should do rod bearings in it. Even though they looked fine, I was like, we should probably put bearings in it. We probably should run through the clutch. It was a lot of
It's a
maintenance.
full service.
Full
We might as well
service.
check everything.
Why this guy's watching you. And not only that, you had other people watching too, but they can't help.
Yeah, yeah.
They just have to like be hands off.
That's
I used
it.
to love that. I would
I know. That's right up your alley.
when I would go with people, I'd be like, I can't help. I'm sorry. The joke would be they didn't want me to help anyways. Like I can't. They're like, yeah, we didn't want that.
Yeah, but sometimes, when it was me and Garrett, it was kind of nice though, because keeping the people back a little bit. When
Yeah.
you're going hard, that can be a thing.
Well, some people try to help. Even like you have
Yeah.
to actually tell them.
Yeah,
they
you have
can't.
to be
a
like,
fan
hey,
will like
they'll try to help you push or something. And you're like, no, you can't. Like,
get kicked out of competition for something
Yeah.
stupid like that.
especially when you're the high profile guy and everyone's got eyes on you. You really want to do it right. And
Yeah.
Garrett always did it right for sure.
Yeah, they put you in quarantine also,
Yeah.
which is nice. It's kind of nice being in quarantine on sick week because then you get the passes quicker
Yeah,
if you're like in quarantine because you're like the top fastest cars. The Mustang actually was on the list, number 100 fastest cars in Drag and
Dang.
Drive last year for the first, because sick week's the first event of the
Yeah.
year.
It was Chip, right?
Yeah.
I love that car.
You drove it home.
Yeah.
yeah.
You got to drive it home.
I got the whole experience for sure.
I was driving that thing and it just hit a bump and all the lights went out.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was dark. That one back road on our way to Bradenton this year was dark. I couldn't see anything. I was just on the rumble strips. Just like, if I'm on the rumble strips, I'm not in the ditch. That was my thought.
We were in Daytona Beach and Shane lost all his lights. Same kind of thing. So he had underglows. So we strapped him across the front. And that's how He made the rest of the drive.
It tore up the intercooler this year, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ripped it off the turbo. I think Kyle actually ended up doing the permanent fix.
Oh yeah.
He welded the housing to the intercooler. Or to the
So
intercooler.
now when he takes the intercooler off, the
the
whole
turbo
compressor housing comes off with it.
It's a 1.
Still like that?
Yes.
Where's
he
the
ran.
car at?
He ran. It's in Colorado. He ran 8s this year, like that. You know. So
Oh, in
Yeah,
altitude?
we were up super late, and like the event was the next day, and he's like, I don't have the right flange. I'm like, well, get the welder out. We'll make it the right flange.
It's all aluminum.
yeah. Kyle welded it all together. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Hey,
I just couldn't look.
Yeah,
One of
those
those
events
things.
are fun. Oh, those events are good. Are you guys signed up for that this year? It's coming
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. I like to do the Dragon drives.
I know Kyle is. Yeah, I don't know if you were signed up with anything.
Yeah.
Shane bring his car down or something.
No, Shane got his butt kicked this last time, so he wants to sit out some. He tore his car up pretty good. But I want to do it in the Freedom Civic again.
Yeah, Freedom Civic's a good one.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah, that'll be a cool.
I'd like to get that 8-second average. I did a 9.0 average just this last race weekend.
So where do we go with EPA from here? I'm actually having this week, probably right after this, will be John Lund,
Okay.
who's in a similar boat
Yeah.
as you. He doesn't talk about it a whole lot anymore
No.
because I think a lot of people, when they haven't heard anybody get hit in a while, they, you kind of like
Yeah.
stay in your cave a little bit and
Yeah, and that's
make not much noise.
what we need to not do, but it's definitely scary when they throw the numbers at you, because that's what it is. It's a lot of fear, and they pick us off one by one. That's what they're gonna do. That's ugh.
You would know. I mean, do you feel like they're going top down or bottom up? Like, because you're the bottom,
Yeah.
and then there's like big companies. Are they starting at the bottom and then
Well,
they're
that's
just
where
gonna...
that's where I always say the big companies got to see what's going on down here, and they better jump in, or they're not going to have anything. Who's going to buy it? Who's going to maintain it? Who's going to be the support? We're all of that for all these companies. Mm-hmm. They need to understand that. A lot of your customer service doesn't happen because we're doing it on our end and really making the parts work and stuff happen. And if that's gone, then it's down the line.
Well, the RPM Act was like a big thing for a while. People talked about.
Yep.
I never fully liked that.
No.
I didn't like the wording in that. It said anything with a VIN number
Yep.
couldn't be modified.
Yep. Because
And that was what SEMA and PRI put out. That was like, this is our
Yep.
fix. And it
Yep.
was like, if it has a VIN number from factory, you can't modify it. And I was like, well, that hurts 98% of car guys.
Yep.
I never
That's
really
wrong.
supported that act.
Yeah, and that was the only thing that would, I think that was the only thing they were trying to get their foot in the door with. And
But it was already
obviously-
giving up so much.
Yeah, because the wording of the Clean Air Act, like if we have a license plate on that thing, it ain't legal to touch. It ain't legal to do anything to. I mean, that is the wording. When you really look at how they said this stuff, that's what we didn't know how far deep it went until you look. I mean, it's changing. Anything that changes the injector millisecond is deemed not legal. So you putting an air filter on, which requires the ECU to give it more millisecond. Well, there you go.
And this
It's
is
that easy.
federal. This is like
this
a
is
lot
federal.
of people.
So a lot of people say, my stuff's carb approved, which they pour a lot of money in. Well, that's good in California. Mm-hmm. That's like the weed in Colorado's legal, but not federally.
Yep.
So it's, I see a lot of tuner stuff that says 49 state legal, and I'm like, how? Somebody tell me how this is happening. I see these ads, and I commented on one company's thing, and I'm like, how are you doing this, and how are the dealers going to be protected? I never heard back, but I'm like, some of those things, I'm the one that got hit, and I'm like, you gotta tell us how this is going to happen, because when they come on our door, how do we stand up for you? And obviously you didn't for us, so.
Yeah, it kind of needs to go both ways.
Yeah.
They need to help you out a little bit because you're the only one selling
At least
their
give
products.
us the legal information that's protecting you, or is it, there's a list of dealers coming from you.
It's a lot of
I don't
head in
know.
the sand stuff. In a lot of this. And I can't believe the number of car guys I talk to that don't know what's going on.
Oh no, they don't. And
Tuners too.
Until they get hit, because I was one of those guys. Out of sight, out of mind. I'm in my own lane doing my thing. Mm-hmm. and then it comes knocking on your door, you know. And then you're like, what?
Well, I think what happened was the diesel community got hit, and half of the car guys that I know were like, oh, good, screw those guys.
Yeah,
and the people that understood were like, no, like, this is bad. Like, just, like, yes, rolling coal is stupid, but, like, you shouldn't arrest them for it.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't become, like, this federal crime where people are sitting in jail because of it.
Yeah, and some people have faced a lot of jail time, a lot of huge fines.
Yeah.
I mean, there's famous people I know that are dealing with it that don't talk about it. And it's like, man, you guys, I don't understand why you don't. Like, I mean, I guess you got stuff to protect, but I'm just in a unique position, you know, where my kids are older, my stuff's paid for. You want to beat me up, but I'm still going to be here swinging. And
you have a following.
I have a following, I have a voice, and if I can use that to make people aware, that's what I'm going to do. And if that's my place, then that's my part in this industry, then here I am.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like, I've talked to pretty much everybody that's been hit that are outspoken about it. Corey is a huge one about
Corey's
it.
Corey's awesome.
He's super outspoken.
Yep.
JH got hit, but he's not, you know, he's got a business to run.
Yeah.
He's not trying to just...
Yeah, and he's trying to stay in his lane and do the right thing.
Yeah.
I appreciate JH, though. He got me in touch with the right lawyer that knew and understood this stuff. And that guy's helped me a lot. It has not been anything cheap, but it's like...
Guess that makes up for when he ran you off the racetrack.
Yeah. You know, we got a rivalry going. I'm working on this rivalry. I love the guy.
Yeah.
But
there's got to be rivalries.
There has to be.
So. And then Jay from Ignite is huge advocate in all this world.
Jay's been awesome.
On the farmer side of things, too.
Yeah.
Which is completely similar, but...
Yeah,
different.
and that's what it's going to take, getting all the industries together. I hope everybody's watching. Get all these industries together with all the right minds. We need a think tank. We need to think like them because they are thinking every day and we are paying them to do so. So they are fighting us with our money and they're kicking our butts. And none of us even know how deep the rabbit hole goes. Yeah. I mean, and if we don't get a game plan and we don't stand up and start figuring it out pretty soon, I don't know how soon, but, you know, if you get sucked into those holes, it's a whole nother sad deal. But something needs to happen. Jay from Ignite is one of those guys that knows how to work around those people and is a wealth of knowledge. And I have tried to put him in front of the right people at PRI and SEMA. And I wish they would take his advice and actually get with him and figure it out. Because I've talked to the biggest dudes there is. I know what's going on at PRI. You know what I mean? I worked with those guys a lot. And I believe in what they're trying to do. But they need real muscle behind them too, and they need to kind of change that focus on their end too. I mean, they're fighting a battle I don't think they can win right now, not on their own. They need us all in a different way. You know, they're trying to do it with memberships and this. And I agree they need to do that because they need to make the money to get the lobbyists and to work that side because Washington is about money, all money. The ethanol industry got their ass kicked and spent like $15 million on lobbyists or something. And we need a lot more than that. And we are such a small community. You know, back in the day, being American and being a community, you had a voice. Well, now the voice is cash. And that's unfortunate, but that is what it is. And until something can really get changed on that end, you know, I'm sure a bunch of people are going to jump in your comments and be like, oh, well, you got to vote this way. We definitely got to get the right people, but we got to get some bright folks that think in that world and aren't about the cash or who I can help for what and polish what. But we need some people with integrity, right? Integrity just comes back into everything.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what it comes down to is that. And Turn 14's doing a really good job at a lot of stuff. They're fighting a different fight than SEMA.
Yeah.
And they have a lot invested in it. Yeah. They're a big company. They have a lot of money on the line to that's what it really comes down to, like money. And the big companies that have a lot of money
and that's the other
are who we need.
The other one that could actually change the whole game for the entire thing is eBay. eBay's hit with what, $2 billion fine?
Yeah.
If they took the $2 billion and we used that money to fight them instead, pay the fine or just fight them with paperwork, fight them with everything we got, and come collective with us. I mean, stand with us. I think they could really make something happen.
Yeah,
'Cause
if they
takes
stood with
somebody
car
like that.
guys.
If they stood with the car guys and said, hey, we're protecting the people selling for us, and we don't think you're in the right. And actually get some real people, real scientists and real people. Let's get some real arguments going with this climate change. Not an agenda. Let's get some facts going on why the world is getting warmer or cooler or whatever it's going to do. And let's see what the racing community, how much of an effect on it we really have or what we're really doing. All of us we want to burn clean fuels. We want the cars as efficient as possible. We want them clean because that makes power. The hard parts in the engine don't care what we're burning. They don't care. They'll put out whatever we decide to burn. And most of the time, if it's a pump gas is junk. And it's the same people selling us the pump gas and saying it's pollutant, right? Well, give us cleaner stuff. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm
My
at.
car pretty much never runs. How bad could it
That's
be?
what I mean. Most of these cars sit on jack stands and then come out a weekend. A lot of people spend all their time it's like you buy a puzzle, you want to build that puzzle, you want to make it your own, you want to, you're going to frame it, put it on the wall, you just did this great job. Well, a car can be that for a lot of people. It's our hobby, it's what we enjoy, it's what we love to do. We love our masterpiece. Some will hit the road sometimes and some will sit. But it should be our choice to do what we want. I mean,
also,
I'm into freedom.
I would like to attack OEM because I feel they have fully abandoned us.
Yeah.
I hoped there was probably about 4 years ago. I hoped OEM would be the savior, but like GM has completely just dropped all thoughts of like people modifying their cars.
Yep.
Once they came out with Global B, it was over. Like they are pushing. I know they're unlocking the ECUs now for these cars, but it's not. I don't think it's what we think it's going to be.
No.
And the people that are going to get them are going to be very select. And you're in this database of they know what you did.
Yep. I'm sure they're going to be able to just pull out whatever you are whenever they feel like it. Be able to just remotely jump into the ECU whenever. If it's near Wi-Fi, it's not going to be that big a deal anymore.
I feel pretty abandoned by OEM.
Yeah.
I was hoping they would help.
And the guy that started this whole EPA deal, Evan Belzer.
I thought you were going to say Al Gore.
No, Elvin, I'm the EBA attack on the performance industry. Evan Belzer, he's now at Ford. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Right. He left the EPA and now he's at Ford, but he's the one that my case started with and all that stuff.
So he's not even overseeing your case at all anymore.
No, he's not there.
So now
he's at Ford.
Did they hire him, you think, so that he would stop sending out these? So he would stop his vendetta.
Either that or the vendetta's at Ford. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
That is interesting. I'll have to look into that a little more. Huh.
I thought it was fascinating when I heard, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because I try to keep tracks on what's going on over there too. Because like I said, they're always at work. You may not think they are, but I go to events and I have owners come up to me and say, "Hey, I got that letter. What do I do?" Man, I tell them flat out, I close the doors, do something.
I think
easy.
It's public knowledge. Mike Vargas, he posted his.
Yeah.
He got that letter, and
he hit me up right away too when he got it. And
not even the Doritos are safe.
Not even the Doritos are safe. And I told him, you got to keep the stuff off the road, man.
Those things run clean too.
Yeah.
You see one of those pull up at the track, she's running right.
They don't burn any oil.
But is burning oil really that bad? I mean,
No, it's fine. I'm not worried.
I'm like, geez.
I just think it's crazy it's even such a big conversation. It's like, I feel like there's so many, I'm sure it's already been said, but just like all the air travel, freaking SpaceX blasted in 16 million pounds of thrust into,
ships.
Like all the stuff going on, and they're focused on this small minority.
Well, and the thing is, not just the minority, but the guy that's, he puts all his money into this because that's what's keeping him sane. That's what's keeping his mind right.
That's a lot of hardworking guys. Like, this is their passion. This is what,
fuels them.
Yeah, this is just what keeps us going, keeps us happy. There's probably a lot of guys that are into performance cars and they work, labor jobs that keep society up and running. You take that away from us, and it's just, I don't think it's good.
Well, it also comes into the Right to Repair Act.
Yeah.
Which is a big. They almost go hand in hand.
They go all of it goes hand in hand.
Because a lot of like states are like making this thing like right to repair, where your phone breaks, Apple has to legally sell you parts to fix it.
Thank God.
And it's kind of the same with a car. If your car breaks, you need to be able to fix it. And sometimes to fix a car, you have to get into the ECU.
Yeah.
And sometimes if your car is broken, it may need injectors that are easier to get from,
Yeah.
Yes. FIC or something, and put those in instead. So it's kind of similar where it goes hand in hand with Right to Repair in a lot of ways.
Well, and we should be able to make our stuff better. You should be able to make, I got this car, it makes 30 miles per gallon. Well, I want to make it make 40. Mm-hmm. Or go the opposite way. Whatever. It's your stuff. It's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem. It's yours.
Yeah, you own it, and it's just I just feel like if this stuff is so good with like pushing electric and all this, it's just I would think it would make more sense for them just to let things naturally phase out.
Yeah.
Like at least let us do our thing, and
yeah.
if that becomes the more mainstream form of travel, then build new laws and stuff around that, but find a way to protect what's already out there and just don't like put a big stop on everything. Like, nope, all this stuff that's been out for the last 100 years, we're done.
Yeah.
We're flipping a switch this year.
It makes the young guys coming up not be able to learn. I mean, if you don't, I tell guys all the time, they're like, how did you learn to do what you do? I was like, you want to learn, build a car. That thing will teach you everything you ever want to know. You're going to learn a ton of skills, but, it's almost better education than an automotive trade school. Build a little race car and learn how to manage it.
Get something cheap.
Yeah.
And get it running. Get somebody's project.
Yeah.
That I always advocate for. Buy somebody else's project and start unraveling stuff.
Yeah.
You learn real quick, too.
You learn real quick.
And that's fun also. It's kind of an enjoyable thing to unravel like a...
Oh, yeah.
Like
the first couple of days of taking things apart are always like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, there's a fun to that. So speaking of burning rubber, or flip from the EPA stuff, let's talk about burnout stuff. Why does your limiter sound like that? It was painful. Did you hear his car on the limiter?
Yeah.
If anybody was in the stands, I'm sure they understood.
Look,
that thing's loud.
Yeah, for an LS, I was surprised.
The zoomies and just the length and how this designed, how it hits, the kind of timing that's in it, it does it.
And I don't think you got off of it at any point.
What for?
I don't know. Give me a break.
Look.
I was like, please, pop a tire.
We're here to give you some energy, bro. And sometimes that comes from aerial vibration, and that's coming from my exhaust system. Yeah. It is a function of what I'm doing in the car. I'm excited as my exhaust sounds, because that is my foot going, yes.
I'm going to bolt a little wood block under there.
That's fine. I'm still going to get there. It's going to take a little longer.
Try to slow it down a little. That was probably one of your better burnouts I've seen from it, though.
Yeah, it scoots, man. That car is just so fun, considering it's like probably the lowest horsepower car in the class. I think I made 330 horsepower, 340 horsepower.
Really? It only makes that much?
It's a turbo motor, turbo cam, and I don't, it might sound like it's revved out, but it doesn't rev very high. It's just and it's tuned good.
No turbo, by the way.
Yeah, there's no turbo. This is just zoomies. Yeah, turbo would probably quiet it down some. But I think burnout shows are about the noise and the effect. Yeah, we probably should have some ear protection. But it's, that feeling you get in your body is what they're about. And then the energy of the speed, That
was a solid tip-in, and that car's good for it. It's small. It's a small enough car to whip around. And it looks like you have some small tires in there, which probably what gets it to the limiter so aggressively.
Yeah, so usually we run a bigger tire, and I stay in first. The bigger pit, Bristol kicked my butt with that. I just I'd put it in second and just turn into a turd. So smaller tires this time. I got into second, and once it was on the limiter in second, that wheel speed was through the roof, and I'm sure it broke your eardrums, but man, it was on a party.
Oh, it was. I'm sure the video's already up on your channel. And
I'm behind. I've been working like crazy.
Yeah, but by now, since this is out, you'll probably have it up.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
And Jamie's car racing, both of those will probably be kind of. Well, you got a bunch of things. I mean, you were racing.
Yeah, we were busy. It was a weekend.
Yeah. So that's a pretty solid car for it. Alan's old car.
Yeah. And it was like, we saw it out there the one time, and I'm like, man, if I could ever have that car, I'd sure want it. It's so cool. Mm-hmm. And I was in Colorado one day, and I got a phone call and be like, it's on the way to you. Just pay the delivery. I'm like, okay. So that's how I got it. It was sweet.
Yeah, so the burnouts have changed a little bit since this one. This one, they changed some rules. Fires are like bad. Hitting the wall, bad.
Yeah. They're
going up against the wall, like a DQ, backing up, DQ, which is nice. I like seeing some rules that make driver skill more of a thing.
Yeah.
I showed no display of driver skill this week.
You were working on it, though.
Well, what happened was my alternator lost the belt, so the fuel pressure was just going to nothing.
I don't understand that. I have an LS as well, and I lose the belt the first time it hits the limiter.
Yeah.
As soon as it's on the limiter, there's no belt, and I already know. So
usually I do.
But it still goes.
Usually that's fine, but for this time it was just there wasn't enough voltage in the battery to keep the pump happy, and it was like 46 psi, 46, 46.
I understand. I also run with a jump box on it the whole time too.
Yeah.
It's a Boosted Boy thing.
Whatever these drift guys are doing to keep their LS belts on, I need to get on that program.
I need to get on that program as well.
Yeah.
They probably don't get on the limiter as much. And, I could probably raise the limiter and get off of it, but I'd probably end up there too. It doesn't matter.
Well, like Kyle was telling me not this Kyle, the one with the Hilux.
Yeah.
He was telling me how his ECU starts to pull power into the run because his tires are getting more grippy or less grippy to keep him off limiter. So he's like using tuning in that.
Yeah,
like
he's got like a crazy hysteris.
He's got like a curve in it, like we use in drag racing, but he's pulling power and closing throttle and less fuel and stuff. So it's kind of a cool deal. He was telling me, he's like, "Oh, I'll show you a data log." I'm like, I'm not prepared to look at a minute and a half data log. I'm used to looking at like this much.
A few seconds. Yeah, our data logs are crazy too. And then they're zoomy, so we have the O2 sensors in one pipe, so it's like, take it as it is, I just put a bunch of fuel in it. And,
you just look at it, see which one's not doing what the other ones are doing.
Yeah. If we're not melting plug wires, it runs just fine.
Yeah, that works. I know Nate had his on like a sniffer pipe on his zoomies. Which, if you guys don't know, all the zoomies go together. They had a tube, so everything's kind of one bank, a common bank, to see what it references each zoomie to one spot, which is a pretty cool way to do it. I did want to talk to you also about your off-road experience, because I feel like nobody really ever knows about that.
Oh man, that was a good time in life. That was a lot of fun.
Like you getting helicoptered in to fix things secretly.
Oh man, that was something.
So it's Ultra 4, right?
No, we used to do trophy truck.
Trophy truck.
Yeah,
okay.
So it was the trophy trucks. And basically I'd help the team out kind of tuning wise on their Motec for about a year. And it was a buddy of mine that I'd gone to high school with was on this team, and he saw the videos, and he would just ask me stuff, and I just, just give advice, and that's it, And then just talking for a while, he was like, "Hey, you want to come out and help us Vegas to Reno?" Like, yeah, sure, why not? I'd love to check this stuff out. So I went out there, and I didn't know what I was in for, but they had their regular tuner there or whatever. You could already feel that there was kind of a weird vibe in the air, because they brought me in and this guy's there.
Two tuners.
Yeah, and I can work with anybody. You know
red
me.
Flag.
They brought
Yeah,
the
and
Honda guy.
you know me. I'm like, hey buddy, how you doing? But yeah, I got along with them just fine. And they first in qualifying, they're having this crazy issue where the truck would just shut off and they'd kill starters and do all this wild stuff or whatever.
So what's the combo in this truck then? Is it?
This is a Viper V10 naturally aspirated turbo 400.
Did not expect to hear Viper V10.
Yeah, it was cool. Kind of sounded like a boat going across, but it made 750, to the tire. NA, which is that's killer number. That's crazy numbers.
Yeah, and you needed to do that for a long time.
Yeah, for basically 800 to 1,000 miles or
like
whatever.
Wide open throttle.
Yeah, and this race was from Vegas to Reno, so all the way across the desert,
Yeah.
And basically, the truck ended up way up in the Death Valley, the middle of the mountains, and they get on the radio, and I'm in the support truck where I kind of float to different pits in case something happens. I might have to just jump in, you know. And the truck breaks out there, and they're like, "Hey, we shut it off, but it's still running. We don't know what's going on." And then eventually it just died. So, and then they would try to start it, nothing. They're like, the starter went bad or something happened. We're not sure. And the guy looks at me and he's like, "Well, you're up." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He takes me and they kicked all the media crew out of their chase helicopter. And they're like, "You're going to need a race suit. You're going to need these tools." And I took the tools and the race suit, jumped in the helicopter. They flew me into Death Valley, and they were like, "We can't take you to the bottom to the truck, but we're going to drop you off on the top of this mountain." Yeah. And they couldn't even land on the top of the mountain. He could just hover. So I had to jump out and then take these I took car batteries, a toolbox. So I'm sitting on top of this mountain with all this stuff, and he flies away. And all I got my cell phone.
It's like SEAL Team 6.
Yeah, and I'm in a race suit. And
how hot was it out there?
It's Death Valley, so it's hot. This is not a cold
it was
thing.
During the hot part of the year too.
Of course.
It's like 100 something out there.
It's probably in the 90s.
Okay.
I would think. I mean, it might have got hotter, but it could be me exaggerating at some point. But
no cloud at all in the sky.
Yeah. But I got 3 car batteries. I got to get down, and I could see the truck, but it's a good ways away. Like, I'm on top of a mountain, and so I get in the toolbox and I shove in what tools I feel like I'm gonna need. I put all 3 batteries, in my arms, and I just start going down this mountain. And I got about a football field or so away from the truck, and the batteries were just, I was about done. So I dropped 1 battery, and I took 2 over to the truck, and the guys are missing. The driver and the co-driver, they're not there. I'm like, what's going on, So I just get to work. I just got under the truck, start changing the batteries, start doing all the stuff, trying to get this thing fixed, get the batteries changed. And I'm tinkering, and then those guys come over and go, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm fixing this thing." And they're talking to me for a bit, and then the support truck rolls up. Well, you're only allowed the driver and the co-driver.
Very sick week of it.
Yeah. And I'm underneath the truck. Well, when this guy gets out, he's, this is like the patrol for the race, race coordinator guy.
Like the official.
The official, yeah. So he comes over, and to make myself not seen, I literally climbed up on the drive shaft, and I'm bear hugging the drive shaft and cross-legged, and I'm hanging from the drive shaft, and I'm looking at the guy right, like eyeball to eyeball, because there's no bed on the truck. It's fully open, and he's standing at the corner of the bed talking to the driver and the co-driver, and they're all BSing for, felt like forever. And I'm just staring at him like holding this drive shaft. And they get him cooled out or whatever, and he takes off, and they tell him they're going to fix it or whatever. And then the co-driver ends up, I tell him where that guy drove away, and he runs up and finds the battery. So he's far enough away to where I can kind of tinker with it for a bit. And I'm in a race suit. So at that point, I'm the co-driver. And I find out, the starter had got burned up. Basically, the starter was on the entire time they were driving, so it cooked it. So there's always another starter bolted onto those trucks too. So I got that changed out, the batteries.
So you guys keep it bolted on there, ready to just swap
there's
out.
drive. Yeah, it's got pretty much another truck bolted to the truck,
Mm-hmm.
So
and it's got 3 why 3 batteries? Does it just have 3 batteries, or did they just tell you, you better bundle up and bring 3? Because that seems excessive.
There could be a bad one. I think I want to say it took 2. But I ended up, putting the bad batteries in the middle. And that's the other thing I did was once I got it to start, I just used a wire to start it. And I was like, don't shut it off because I don't have your starter wire connected anymore. So it won't just run the starter. And then I got them moving. And, I still had to get the toolbox and all that stuff. And I didn't have cell service down in the ravine. So I walked right up that mountain again. And I get up to the top. And I call for the helicopter sport to come pick me up or whatever, and he's like, "It's too windy. You gotta come over here." Oh, God. This is back down the ravine and up another mountain on the other side, a pretty good distance. And now I've got a toolbox, And, and I'm on the other mountain. So now I have to carry this toolbox.
Take off your race suit at this point yet? Or are you still just like...
I still have the race.
They told me to wear it.
Like, I felt like I'd have to carry that too. It's no matter what, I'm screwed. So if I got it on, at least I can, get through because this is the desert too. So, you don't want to be, you kind of want the long sleeves and all this, all the stuff. So, and to be protected from cactus and everything else because that's everywhere.
Rattlesnakes.
Yeah, all of it.
Biting your ankle.
All of it. So I climbed down the mountain with this toolbox, and then I'm climbing up this other ravine to get to the helicopter, and I'm literally dying at this point. I have no water. I totally forgot to give me any water, and I forgot to even ask. Like, it was just such a thing, so I had no water. And the toolbox at this point, just one chug after another. So I'd put the toolbox up, and then I'd walk up to the toolbox. I'd put the toolbox up, and I'd walk up to the toolbox. And it took forever. Finally got to the helicopter, and the guy's like, he's the hippiest guy, he flew for National Geographic and stuff too, so he's like such a hippie. But he's like, man, you look hot, He hands me a Gatorade. I down the Gatorade, one drink, no problem. He gives me another one, gone, no problem. He can see I was dead. So I got everything in the helicopter, and he's like, bro, I'm gonna give you the ride of your life. This is my first time. This is my first time in a helicopter. I hadn't met Garrett yet. So man, he took me through that ravine, and he was bouncing off the banks through the canyon, full rip, and in this helicopter. And that was probably one of the most wicked experiences desert racing I ever had. But the truck ended up getting back. We found the wire to the PDM was loose, so as it arced up and down, it would just kick the starter out because it was all CAN bus and all that kind of good stuff. So we got it all fixed up. Truck finished the race and did pretty good. But yeah, it was at that point the owner of the team was like, boy, you're part of Mills Motorsports.
Quite a friend you got.
Yeah. And then I ended up being like, they rolled the truck and I fixed it, with literally like a crescent wrench. I fixed this truck all. I did some really cool stuff on the whole desert thing. I had some old videos on the channel. If you find some of them, they're gems. And the stuff we used to do, I loved it because the helicopter would be chasing and we're on the radios and we're tracking the truck, and it was an adventure every time.
The fact that you hiked back up with those tools is pretty commendable because I would have been like, these tools are staying right here.
And I probably should have done that, but my dad always made me put the tools away, so it's like I can't just leave the tools.
I know. I feel like we'll come back when there's no wind.
They probably would have been just fine too. I was like, I left the tools. They were like, oh, no problem. We'll get more.
Exactly.
I didn't know no better, so I just, I was trying to give it my all.
Man, that's awesome. So then you spent another year helping out that team after.
A couple years.
Okay.
Yeah, once I got hired, it was a regular deal. They fly me in, pay me, just tune on the truck, work on the truck. And then I was always in this floater truck, and anything crazy that would happen with the truck, it was like, there's Brent to do it. Like, I changed the tranny on it a couple times in the middle of the desert. Like, it was awesome. I love that stuff though, it seems like a fun deal. I love to persevere, and get through it. And desert racing is that. You've got to be ready for anything.
Just as hardcore as it gets.
It's a hurry up and wait thing. You hurry to your spot and then you sit almost all day.
Sounds like drag racing.
Yeah. Except you only see the trucks every now and then,
We
seeing some of the
helicopters.
Seeing some of the helicopters was the coolest part because some of them were crazy,
Those guys are having the most fun, those pilots.
Yeah.
They just get to rip around all day.
Yeah. And they got the team owner and a couple of their media crew in there, and they just...
It's not bumpy. There's probably great, they probably stop at like a nice catering area.
Stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And that was some of it. I mean, we had... The team had one pit down in Parker, Arizona, where they literally had full football field, turf, and hot tub. So we were like living it up in the desert, and then catered food. And then when you went out, it was just work your tail off, just get the truck to finish. And we ended up doing really good. The truck ended up being...
So Mills Motorsports, are they still out there doing it?
No, Gary Mills actually passed away a few years ago, so that was kind of where the team left off. I know his son's got the truck, and maybe one day they'll get a wild hair to do a race. I know the whole team would like to get back together. We all stay in touch, and it's one of those things, you build a little family out there, and you guys, because you go to war, together, and And
Those trucks have changed a lot too. Once they switched to doing a lot of rear motor stuff,
Yeah.
it seems like it made it so much easier on the drivers where like
yeah,
all the
I'm sure.
front nose weight was just like brutal, and then like you see the ones with the rear motor, they're just kind of like gliding
Floating,
over.
yeah.
It's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, and that whole technology in those things is crazy too. It's cool.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
What trans did you say was in it? 400?
Turbo 400.
Yeah.
Yep. Just a good built Turbo 400.
Lockup.
Yeah.
In there.
They were awesome.
I'm sure the lockup would help a lot if they even did it at the time.
Yeah, a lot of it, you're just on and off the throttle, so much. And then we did a bunch of traction control strategies. And then, like, seeing them go across the lake beds, that was the coolest because they'd have just giant dust wakes and just be going 140 mile an hour.
You ever been out to the Salt Flats?
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Oh, yeah. That's a good time, too.
I have dreams of it.
It's awesome. It is different. Don't wear your shorts. You're a short guy. That is not where you wear your shorts, bro.
Dude, we need to go out to the Salt Flats. Have you ever been?
I have not.
I keep hearing people talk about it and like brag about how great it is and how different of it, just the camaraderie and the environment.
Yeah, so I haven't been out there on Speed Week. I was out there on a rally, but I got to race a Porsche down it and a Huracan and do some cool stuff. So that was fun. But
like there's some
I think
Honda
Speed
records.
Week would be awesome.
I feel like there's some Honda records that you guys could try to take.
I do too, but I've watched the Brian Gillespie video of his Insight rolling at 200 some mile an hour more than once, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, that was bad.
I'd really have to figure out it'd have to be a tank of a car, so it ain't gonna leave the ground.
If you use like I feel like the Insight seems like a pretty aerodynamic
It
car.
is so aerodynamic, but man, you see it fly apart, and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I got a couple friends that go out and do that, and Jay at Real Street has a car that they run, Sean.
Watching
they do
Jay,
it.
I was watching Jay do all that, and that was something.
That
300
red
some mile
hat,
an hour.
That red 200
Wow.
mile an hour club hat seems pretty
Yeah.
cool to get.
Yeah.
Seems like a fun experience.
From all the racing I've ever done and all the hot rodders I've hung out with, they say that's where you go to retire. So, I mean, I don't know if I'm there yet, but that's where drag racers go to retire.
Is it the Salt Flats?
Is the Salt Flats.
I know Keith Turk. I was talking to him at Sick Week, and he's
Yeah.
like, "You drag racers are whiny crybabies," and he's like, "The Salt Flats are where real stuff happens." Basically, it was like he was just making fun of drag racers the whole time.
Yeah.
Thankfully, us drag racers have thick skins. I don't know
Yeah.
if you can make fun of those those Salt Flat guys quite the same way.
There was a Salt Flat guy that commented on my post when we ran the time in the Tesla, and I was like, "Oh, world's fastest Tesla." I didn't say quickest, but someone was on there like, "Oh, well, actually, the fastest Tesla powered vehicle is some Salt Flat car," and I was like, "I guess you're right," but
Yeah.
I just didn't want.
That's just Scott Clark. Don't listen to that guy.
It's
Yeah.
just whatever.
I know him. I know who you're talking
Oh,
about.
do you?
He's a big tuner. He tunes a lot of those cars. I'm pretty sure it's him. You probably know Scott Clark.
Yeah.
He tunes a bunch of those Salt Flat cars and the jet turbine stuff.
Oh, awesome.
That's the next level stuff. Turbine, no shot I would get in a turbine powered Salt Flat vehicle.
I
Like
sign you up.
unlimited.
If I can move some air efficiently,
You wanna go-
let's do
You
that.
want to try to go 200 in the van for me? Because I don't know if I have the balls to do it.
I will do it. I wouldn't even. It would not even. I know it. I know we'd be just fine.
Should have
In the van?
It should have the power and gearing to do it right now. You could hop in it tomorrow and send it.
In the van would be a little scary.
I think the
I feel like
van
I'd
is the
wanna
most
be low.
aerodynamic. Well, the van can go lower, right? I mean,
Yeah, you can drop it down some.
yeah. I mean, I've seen some lowered ones. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm speaking completely out of my ass on this because I don't know the thoughts behind the vehicles that they use. They basically use airplanes that they take the wings off of.
yeah, pretty much.
So I don't understand fully the back end stuff. I'd love for somebody to teach me on here, but
Yeah, yeah. That's a whole nother can of worms. I don't know. It'd have to be a car for me. I think. I don't know if a Streamliner would be my thing, but
the tires that they use are like,
yeah. And then the tires, they got to be super hard too, because the centrifugal force and
The mile an hour,
expanding and
the amount of
flying
time that they're
apart.
going that mile an hour.
Brent would be out there in a car like the Bat Rod or something.
Of course. Why wouldn't I?
When I was thinking
Big
about
a death trap as I can make.
with the
I'm reliving.
with the freaking candy levers.
just goggles, no windshield.
That's old school.
Yeah,
That's
Brent
cool.
Would, Brent would definitely have some goggles.
I love
Like
old
an
school. The gunner
school-
goggles. Yeah, sign me up for that too.
I was thinking about your list of cars when we were texting, and I was like, man, he's got some weird stuff. Like
I love
between
weird stuff.
Bully, the coal truck,
Yeah.
the bat rod. What do you call it, the pacer?
Yeah.
You got
A skitty.
got a weird variety of
I
cars.
do.
What else you got hidden? Anything cool?
Oh yeah, I've got an N600. That's awesome. That's my favorite car I own. It's my little N600.
N600. I'm not
Yeah.
familiar.
So in 1972, this thing was made. It's a little 2-cylinder Honda, 600cc,
It's
10-inch wheels.
Pretty comparable to like an original Mini Cooper.
Yeah.
Like a little tiny car.
Yeah, they're really small, really cool cars. Yeah, so I love that car, and I've been thinking about, I've gotten some plans. I'm thinking about doing it, but I don't know. We own like 30 cars or more.
They're just all over the place, all over the
Yeah.
country
Yeah.
at any point.
Yeah. But I don't know. I have a few that I love, and that's the ones you know.
Yeah, you guys, the bat rod, that thing's wild. The steering on that thing, the first time I saw it, I was like, there's no way this works. And then the first time I saw it in practice, I was like, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Brent was so passionate about that thing. It was at a junkyard that you like went to as when you were younger or something, and it was just this freaking Batmobile looking car up at the top, and they were getting rid of it.
But before it was put up top, like you'd visit this junkyard, and it was kind of set up like like Alice in Wonderland kind of a place,
It's like
it
a
was just
museum style. Almost.
yeah. And you jump in this little Batmobile, and you drive around and pull your parts and come back. And, it was just kind of gutted, and you just tool around in the yard. He just let you drive it out there and find your stuff, and then take it back and buy your stuff or whatever. And you'd use it to haul the stuff around. And he's retired, and then again the city moved into where he is, and he had to go, and so he's selling everything out there, and the car had a little nostalgia to it and a little flavor, and I was like, I just need to bring it back to life and do something with it, give it a little time to shine.
Dude, I thought that thing had no chance of ever working again. When you brought that thing home, everybody at the shop was like, "Why did you get this?" Like,
Of course.
dude, all the mice we found in it.
Oh,
it
that
had-
was wild.
It had families of mice that we had to
Generations.
evacuate.
Yeah, we were
No, it
evicting.
was.
We were evicting
They-
families.
So much crap in that thing. I was actually scared at one point because I thought I caught a disease.
I remember that.
I was
I remember
genuinely
that.
scared.
Yeah.
I got too deep on Google because I started feeling weird.
Don't get on Google to look at your.
Yeah, there was like these
Hunters virus, I think you get from mice.
Yeah, it was like because it was specifically found in deer mice. I'm like, I'm feeling like sick. And then I looked online, and the picture that pops up of the mouse that carries it was the same ones in the car. I'm like, I'm dead. And it's like 2% over. It's like 2% chance.
That was
of
it. We had a good
survival.
time. I killed the booster boy.
I thought I was done. I was genuinely scared.
Willed his hatch over to you.
Yeah, please.
I was like, God damn it, Brent, you got me killed for this stupid car.
They're gonna put a J series in.
I know.
That J series was cool in that thing. The turbo
was-
kit and everything on that.
Yeah, it was so cool looking, and it won a Burnout Rivals. Let's just put the first pay-per-view one. It did, and I think it was more my energy that did the winning, but it was like
That helped.
I don't know,
Yeah.
the pops it made. That's why I did the
Yeah.
240, because I was like, dude, that thing sounds so sick.
we were back at Garrett's house afterwards or something, and someone was like, "Man, someone was shooting machine guns off."
That's exactly what it sounded like. It was just like rapid fire. Yeah.
Yeah, it
It
was
was like not even a break in it. Like somebody really was shooting some shells. Like, That was a cool car though. Do you have any plans to bring it back, or you had your fun with it?
I actually get asked that a lot. I still have it. I need to straighten because that last Cleese cars, I put it in the wall pretty good. Climbed the whole wall.
Yeah. Well,
And
the tires were the farthest thing forward.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That'll happen.
Yeah, and it tweaked the frame just a little bit, so it needs a little tugging, and then, just putting a motor and training back in it.
The frame. What kind of frame does it?
Okay, so we built that frame, yeah.
could
It was a
probably put it-
2x3 that we built this 2x3 frame and slapped that body on there all quick, Sean was killing it. He got it all blasted
Might as
out.
well just get like a Chevy body and try to be like
Yeah.
a body.
It had a Toyota rear end. Yeah, it was built in
I was
a week.
I was
yeah.
actually impressed. It came together overnight.
And it looked cool. The steering was not what I first had told him to make, but I let him go.
It turned.
It turned, kind of. We learned, like, I kept trying to do these burnouts the way I like to turn, and it was terrible. But then Jamie was like, I've been studying how the car rides on the trailer. Turn the other way. Because as we drive the trailer, the tires would always go one way, the whole ride. And as soon as they did, it was magic. The car would just flip and turn and do all the stuff it did.
Well, there was no real weight over the front axle either because it was so far forward.
Yeah.
It was over it, but it like wasn't.
Yeah, there was not enough weight for sure. And then the long wheelbase made it really hard to whip that car. I don't know if it necessarily should have been a burnout car, but I was just trying to join the fun.
I drove a Mystery Machine at the time.
The Mystery Machine's
So that was a cool car.
I do miss that one. I didn't mean to put in the wall, but
No, that's okay. It needed to be retired.
Brent's almost as good as Garza at tapping the wall.
Almost. I've been working on it.
But dude, and Skiddy's been killing it though.
Garza just puts it head on into the wall. Like, I'm pretty sure that last one, I mean, you probably felt a little pain from that because it was just like somebody just drove into a wall. It wasn't like he turned. It was nothing, like no attempt.
Yeah. I don't know if he had fluid in front. I don't know. I've never seen anything like it.
The truck that took it out.
Yeah.
He started. It was doing okay, and then him and the truck started tandeming, and then they collided, and the truck obviously won that.
Yeah, it wasted.
It beat the Miata.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
So Miata might. I don't know what their plan is, but right now it's a little rough. Ripped the end lines off the sump. Battery got flung back there. Like it needs some work. Whole rear end's just destroyed.
It's tough to put him back in a car after his appearances.
Oh, but he's so fun to watch.
My excuse
and the
was
crowd
mechanical.
loves him.
Maybe you need to put him in the bat rod.
Yeah, the bat rod would be perfect for him.
Oh gosh.
I would put it together for that.
Oh man. Well, dude, we'll wrap it up here. Guys, this was so freaking fun. Follow Brent and Kyle on Boosted Boys. All the links always in the description, guys.
Yeah.
And PFI Speed.
Yeah, PFI Speed. The
Oh
links
man,
are
thank
in the-
you.
Dude, thank you guys for making
This
the
is
trip
awesome.
down.
Yeah.
For people that don't know too, this is 11:30 at night, which is normal.
Yeah. Thank you, Cooper.
Normal.
He waited all
fashion.
day for us, and I drive out like first thing in the morning. I'm going back to Colorado, so it's like,
sick.
I wanted to make this happen though. This is something I wanted to do for a long time, and
Dude, I appreciate it. I'm
Yeah.
sure this is one of many. I don't think this
I
is.
hope so. This was fantastic.
This won't be our only for sure. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Check them out. Like the video, all that good stuff. But we'll see you guys next time.
Let's go.